damn shirt out of the way. It's been sitting
Hey
here.
guys, welcome to Goku of Light live stream discussion. Usually I do anime, if you've been to my channel, every now and then I do a few TV show things. Game of Thrones is one of those shows in particular that I'm expanding to. If you haven't noticed, I changed the channel name to Targaryen D Goku for the month of August while I do theories and things like that. I figure there's only so many theories I want to do for Game of Thrones, the fact that it is limited on content. So throughout the month of August, I'll be smashing them out alongside of doing my anime content. And this is basically going to be one of many weekly videos that I do. Every week, I'm pretty much going to either do a discussion or a theory. This week, we're going to do a discussion basically on the entirety of the series and some upcoming predictions for season 6. And then next week, I'll probably do a focus on Jon Snow. But going into this week, if you don't know already, I like to do a lot of my discussions with basically people that I just get along with, have good conversations with. One of those people is Team Mystics Strider Zero.
Yeah. What's up, guys? I'm back to hijack another stream. But yeah, I do Game of Thrones reviews. And I did one live reaction for the end of season 5. You guys can probably check that out on my Where Tiger X channel. So yeah, if you guys want to see that, that's there. YouTube.com/WhereTigerX, WERETIGERX. But yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of the show, and I've been trying to look at it from its own perspective, even though I sort of know some of the book information, and I know a lot of people say like the books are great and the show is terrible because it's a poor adaptation, but I try to look at it as a standalone work as well as an adaptation. So yeah.
Yeah, and on that note, I feel like I've been starting to read the books more, and I'm getting more into them. And I don't feel like there's just some people that I feel like are just they read the book so long ago that they're so adapted to it that they feel like that it's not enjoyable. But in reality, like going from watching the show to the books, I still enjoy the show, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. For me, the key differences just really come in like I say character involvement, like going since we're just going to talk about a little bit of things ahead anyways, like Lady Stoneheart. We don't have Lady Stoneheart, stuff like
Hmm.
that. That's kind of like crucial to the story. I think it's kind of big, like the fact that we don't because it really makes it where if we don't have Melisandre focused on Jon Snow, then it makes it you wonder how he's even capable of coming back without just the focus of Melisandre, like in the books. When you're reading the books, you get this feel that Lady Stoneheart could be responsible for bringing Jon Snow back. At least that's the big indication that I got from reading the books, or the big part of this area of the series. Because I don't know how much of the books you read, or if you read them all, or anything like that. But one big focus point is that pretty much the guy that's in charge of the Brotherhood. I don't remember his name. The guy with the patch on his eye. He's been brought back like 6 times from the dead. They show him in the series. Pretty much the other Red Priest has been bringing him back, and he's the one that's killed by the Hound. Well,
Yep.
in the books, there's a part where basically they find Lady Stark, and her body is withered away, and she's on like basically like the side part of the water, and they pull her to the shore, and he requests that they bring her back to life. Of the Red Priest, he tells him that he can't do that. Basically, he doesn't want to bring her back. She's too far gone, kind of thing. And basically, the guy that's in charge of the Brotherhood decides to exchange his life for hers and gives her the kiss of life, and it pretty much ends up killing him, but she comes back in turn. So it implies that there's this type of magic that the person that's being revived can also use to bring people back.
Yep. Definitely. And it's
Um,
Beric Dondarrion who you're thinking of, by the way. That's the name.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he was interesting because he popped up in season 1, but you didn't know who he was because Ned Stark basically told him to go kill the mountain. But we know that he failed, like, because of dialogue.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But yeah, he was just sort of an interesting character that only appeared in the first 2 seasons anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, and then going into the like, so before we just go all the way into like the main focus point of everything that's going on, all the drama, we'll build up, we'll start. And for me, I already did like a video on season 1 and season 2, so there's not too much to talk about as far as the beginning goes, but season going into season 3 and season 4. um, it gets brutal. Like
Yeah,
everything with the red wedding and stuff like that is just so horrible. Rob Stark was by far my favorite character, and so like the way that he went down was horrible. Like what
yeah.
were your feelings about the red wedding? Like how did you feel
I
your first time watching it and all that? Did you read the books prior to any of this or?
Nope. I still have not read a single book, but I read a lot of online spoilers after I watched the show. So
Mm.
the Red Wedding was a complete surprise to me. I hated every second of it. I was like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me!" I'm like, because Ned Stark was my favorite character, and then Rob Stark was basically Ned Stark 2.0, and I'm like,
Yeah.
surely he'll survive long enough. And then I forgot what show I was watching, and then he ended up dying. I'm like, just like big face palm.
Yeah, I feel like more than any point in the 5 seasons that I've watched, that was the point you realize like don't have a favorite character. Like
Yeah.
like it was given like when Ned Stark died that you knew like okay anybody can die like that was the rule that was broken there and then it was pushed a
Mhm.
little further like as the seasons went on you seen a little bit more fucked up shit happen but it wasn't until Rob Stark died and they like put this wolf's head on him that it was just like almost like a barbaric show like it came like next level like these people are savages like like the Boltons and stuff like that like people like that there's people in this show that really are just savage like it isn't
Yeah.
just it isn't just a drama, I guess you could say. Like prior to Rob Stark's death, they really had more of a drama feel for me than like even though they had like this background of like magic and sorcery and all this other shit like elements where people die and stuff like that. There was more. It was more drama driven, and everything that like that's why like Ned Stark's death was so crucial and things like that. It was
Hmm.
real drama driven, but then at that point it really felt like more of a war because prior to that, like and when you watch like a lot of the commentaries, they explain it with good reason that like a lot of this is just really expensive to shoot in general, so they can't shoot
Yeah.
everything, they can't make all these scenes. But we didn't really get as much like fighting scenes or like the war. We don't see like these like Lord of the Rings scenes where we see like hordes of people colliding with each other. It kind of just skips by it, and they'll be like, "Oh, Rob Stark is winning. Rob Stark is winning." That's all we keep hearing, is how Rob Stark is winning these wars. Basically, we don't see too much of it other than when Jaime Lannister is captured. And so
Hmm.
to actually see like it go down, like the Red Wedding was probably the most brutal thing that I had seen in that part of the series. And consistent brutality. It wasn't just like one person got their head cut or something like that. Like it was just a massacre. And like
Yeah.
yeah, and especially the way that they built it up where Arya was about to get there. That's kind of what was even more fucked up about it. It was like Arya was right there and she was about to see them, and so like that was fucked up on two levels. Because one, she could have been there like an hour or two earlier and got killed with them, and then two, she had to be there as they died. You know what I mean? So it was like it was fucked up on two levels.
Yeah, definitely. She's got like anally fucked so badly so many times over the course of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let me ask
Nothing
you out of
will
the Starks, which
survive.
one's your favorite?
Well, of the people alive, because there's only a couple,
Well, it doesn't have to
or
be the
in
it doesn't have to be
total.
the ones alive, just in total.
Ned Stark, who's still my favorite character of all.
For sure.
Yeah, Ned was my favorite. Now followed by probably John, but John.
Jon Snow.
Yeah, Jon Snow's after Ned Stark now, after season 5, because he just became like the coolest dude, and then for the watch.
For the watch. Okay, and okay, go. I guess going into that moment, like, was it a surprise to you? Like, how did you feel? Like when it went down? Like, were you caught off guard? Did you see it coming? Like,
I got spoiled on that moment actually, but I was hoping because D&D they don't necessarily follow the books on everything. I was
mhm,
hoping they weren't going to follow that particular scene, but now I understand why they would have to if John's going to get revived, which we'll get into later when we go into predictions.
mhm.
Um, and I'll talk about why John had to die if he's going to be revived. But ultimately, like I wasn't shocked because I knew it was coming. It was kind of wishful thinking, and my live reaction, I was just silent. I just went like this in my live reaction. I just went. I basically just took off my headphones and I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, of all the fucking scenes you had to follow in the books. You followed that one? Really? That
You
was
know,
an
and
expensive ass watch.
but what I thought was big about, I would say, everything that like was leading up to that too was like prior to that, like um we didn't really see, like, I would say, like, as much like the anger with the people that were below him. Like, like
Hmm.
we had Melisandre foreshadow it, like when she talked to him, like inside of the his cabin or his like private quarters. She told him to like be careful about the people with the knives and the people that smile at you, kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
she warned him. But aside from that, and like some kind of like people getting angry, I didn't really get the same feeling like in the book. You get like this like strong vibe that something bad is gonna happen.
Hmm.
So, and because like when I watched the series first, so everything is like the experiences are reversed for me. So like when I watched the series first, it caught me completely off guard. Like I didn't expect it. Like I was just like, oh my god, I couldn't believe that they just killed him. I was like, another one, another one. I was like, like, 'cause when Rob Stark died, it took me a whole another season to literally like another character. Like for season four, it was all bland. Like I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. The only character aside from them that I've really always liked is Daenerys, and that's just because I like the Targaryens. Like, and that goes into me doing more research as far as like the lineage of the show and stuff like that. I really like
Hmm.
the Targaryens and stuff like that, as far as going all the way back to Aegon the First. Like, I and when the series is over, there's supposed to be a series, or he's supposed to write another book about the Targaryens. So like, they're gonna be a very important thing just all around. And I think overall, like, well, there's a good like strong point that I feel like Daenerys is gonna could end up with Jon Snow. Like, I really feel like some crazy shit like that could happen.
I
Or
heard.
even,
Yeah, I've seen that one.
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, and I mean, if all the theories are, our predictions are correct, then leave a lot of open ended things that come together. Because for me, I feel like the big thing that I really got off the show, and it's really explained better in the books as well, is that nobody's supposed to be evil. Like, that's not how it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. Like, everybody's kind of supposed to just be from their own perspective to their own means. Like that's why, like, Ned Stark amongst everybody was so much different. That's what made him such a different character, because he was all about his nobility, and him and his family were different, because it goes all the way back to the very beginning of the Stark household of Brandon the Builder. Brandon the Builder, who was the one that helped build the wall, was the first person basically he united a lot of like the people that were there prior on the north, and he even helped, like, had the giants and like all these different people help him build the wall to keep the White Walkers out. He was in a sense similar to like the first like kings of the north, like the Mance Raider and people like that beyond the wall, because he did the same thing that they did, but the difference was is when the wall was built, he basically kicked them all out.
Hmm.
And so he was the one that established the Night Watch to begin with as well. So, and when they show any kind of depictions of Brand the Builder, like they always do, like drawings from famous artists that he's let draw things and stuff like that. He's always shown like being carried on a throne and similar things like that. So he's a very important man, and like to the point where he was like almost like he deemed himself royalty in a way. And I think that it comes to do with like their noble features. So I think everybody in their family, just like from the very beginning, is all about nobility. I think that's just how the whole wolf thing works. They're supposed to
Yeah.
be like alone from the rest, and so I think a lot of the theories make sense as far as Fire and Ice go. Because
Hmm.
I think when you watch the show, you don't get as much of that vibe, because when you're watching the show, it's called Game of Thrones, which is only the name of, like, the first book or something like that.
Yeah.
So instead of the series be called Fire Ice, I think if it was called Fire and Ice, it would make a lot more sense for the series in general. But it just Game of Thrones sounds cooler, I guess.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know why they didn't do a Song of Ice and Fire like the books, but I'm not sure. I guess Game of Thrones just sounded better. I guess what you said. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know.
Uh, so, what do you feel about Cersei?
Oh boy, Cersei. Well, personally, I mean, like most people, I don't like her, and I felt a shred this much bad for her when she was in prison. But
I should say this from the beginning. I like Cersei, and I like the Lannisters.
Yeah, I like some of them. Some of them I don't. I don't really care for Cersei. I just don't like that type of character. But I did feel a little bit bad for her when she was in prison, and like I know
When
she's gonna
you know,
just
well,
go ham.
all I could think was when they were actually letting her out, like they were actually gonna hear her out. I was like, you fucked up. You
We're
fucked
all
up. Like,
dead.
yeah, like no matter what she says right now, no matter what bullshit comes out of her mouth, like you guys are all fucked. Like
Yeah.
if you even feed into it a little bit, like that's how I felt because like, oh man, she's gonna be so fucking spiteful, especially because like she gave him that power and he like flipped on her. Like
Hmm.
I expect to see the High Sparrow die like
Oh
real,
yeah.
real soon. Like that should be like within the first 6 episodes. Like
Yeah. I mean the Faith Militant. They obviously have soldiers as seen in the show, but
mm,
they're really not strong enough to contend with the other military that like the Lannisters and others have. They're just gonna bulldoze right over them if they need to. So
yeah.
yeah, and like the new Clegane Bowl, which people are saying, the new supposedly Gregor Clegane, um, the zombie who's just gonna wreck everybody's um, butthole. But yeah,
What's interesting is like the zombies are missing really. Like if you notice, like because like we should have had Lady Stoneheart and like the people that are like the dead kind of people, like they're gone. I feel like are out of the series, kind of just like to add more of the element of like the White Walkers being so like different. I guess that's kind of what I feel like it is. Is like
well,
until
except
the
for Gregor supposedly, because you remember, the big guy who grabs her at the end of season 5.
yeah he's supposed to be
Supposedly,
back.
yeah,
Yeah, he's like a he's brought back by the necromancer guy.
yeah, yeah. He was the outlier.
Yeah. Oh, so going into that, how did you feel about the Martell's death?
You talking about Oberyn?
Yeah.
Oh fuck. That was brutal. That was even more brutal than the Red Wedding. It didn't impact me as much, but it was more brutal. That was some shit right there. I desperately wanted uh, Oberyn to win, and he had him. He had him. I got spoiled on that too, by the way. So I knew that Oberyn was gonna lose, but I was like, just maybe. Again, I was like, just maybe they're not gonna follow the books. Nope, nope. That was a
Man,
heartbreaker.
I binge watched all of it at once, so I never had a chance to really get spoiled. And like,
Yeah.
um, for me, it was like it really sucked because I was like I liked the character to begin with, and then like he was hyped up a lot, like all and maybe that was like a sign that he was gonna die, but he was hyped up that he was like he was supposed to be like this like strong ass fucking fighter, and like everybody that kind of like talked to him really didn't want to fuck with him, like
Hmm.
everybody showed him respect and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, maybe he's gonna they're gonna give him some moment, and then when he had the guy on the floor, I was like, he really is sick, like because he was like he did work, like he fucked him up, and he had him on the floor. But then he kept shouting and shouting, and I was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna get raped! Watch, watch!" I
Yeah.
knew it, and then sure enough, it happened. Like, because he kept dancing around and like screaming and shit like that. Like, whenever people do that in the movies or shows, they're always gonna die.
Yeah, that's a pretty common trope. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew. I didn't know that I didn't think the guy was gonna get back up and kill him. I thought something was gonna happen, like somebody was gonna shoot him from the audience, or just some kind of like betrayal from the Lannisters to cause another war or something.
Uh huh.
I thought something crazy like that was gonna happen. But like I didn't expect the Lannisters to kind of like without without their dad, they really just don't oppose such a big like thing. Like they just don't seem like such a force without Tywin.
Yeah. Tywin was pretty much the cornerstone of the Lannisters. He's gone. The Lannisters are pretty much no longer the number one.
Yeah, like a lot of the houses like through like the twist of everything in the show are all kind of weak at the moment, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's supposed to like. What it's supposed to be is like all the main houses are weak right now, but they're all gonna re-rise or something.
Yeah, pretty much the Starks. I mean, obviously lived through Arya and Brandon Stark and Rickon Stark, and Lannisters basically lived through Tyrion and Jaime at this point because Cersei is not really going to have any more kids, I don't think. So,
We'll see going into the future too is like if you look at it, um, if Jon Snow So let's just get to that. Say that Jon Snow gets brought back now. There's many different ways that he can be brought back, and
Yeah.
I think what holds really like the strong, if he gets brought back to life, I feel like it almost like verifies that like a lot of the theories that are out there are more than likely true. Like as far as like the one where he's like a Targaryen,
Yeah.
I believe that strongly. Like that's more likely than not true.
Hmm.
One of my main reasons I think that too is because like I feel like the answer has to be simple, but like still like kind of tricky because the people I don't know their names, but the people that produced the show, um, when they were asked, like he basically asked them a question when they wanted to make the show, and he asked them, "Who's Jon Snow's mother?"
Yep.
And they were able to get the question right, and that's why he worked with them. So if they were
Hmm.
able to get the question right, then it's a feasible thing. He just doesn't answer it to nobody else. You know what I mean? He just doesn't admit it.
Yeah.
So he's just been really good about holding his cards to his chest, kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I strongly believe that more or less, if he gets brought back to life, he's probably a Targaryen. And if he's a Targaryen, I would like to. The thing I want to see, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I want to see is him take a claim for the throne. And I want to see how that would all go, especially because just everything that's kind of transpired with his dad, Robb Stark, and everything else. And because if he were to become king, then Bran could easily be in charge of the North. So I think that kind of fits in, especially because it's more than likely not possible too that the other Bran also suffered some kind of disability later on in his life, because a
Uh,
lot of the images that they show of him, he's sitting down. They never show him really like standing or fighting or nothing like that. At least that I've seen of him.
right.
So I think that it's feasible to say that that's like a trait. He's named after Bran, the Bran, the builder of the wall, kind of thing. So it's
Yep.
like I feel like the wall is probably going to fall at some point. I think that's kind of a big thing that's going to happen. And so when that happens, they're going to need another brand to protect the wall or protect the north, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So a lot of things get recycled in most writers and things that they do if you really just find the side notes.
Right. Yeah. The thing about John is like, if he gets revived, there's no doubt that he's gonna have a really huge role in the future because there's one specific reason why he had to die if he's going to get revived, and that's the simple answer is, what do they say when a man of the Night's Watch dies and now his watch is ended? So if he gets revived, he's not bound to the watch anymore. So
Yeah.
he can do whatever he wants once he's revived because his watch is ended. So
So
yeah.
and then there's a what's hold on also high or something like that. I don't know how to say it. Yeah, Ozor High or
Ozar
something
as
like
high.
that. Yeah, Ozor High or however you say his name.
Yeah.
Pretty much who Stannis was pretty much proclaimed to be. Obviously Stannis is not him. And
Right.
prior to this, like they see they didn't really do this in the. That's another reason why the books are important, because they didn't really do this well, like foreshadowing wise in the show. But in the books, like she has like multiple visions where she's trying to like call out to the flame to see Stannis, like prior to this big fight that just happened, and she keeps seeing Jon Snow. It just keeps
Ah.
showing her Jon Snow when she's asking to see the prophet or Ozor High. So she's trying to see Stannis and it keeps showing him. So that right there is strong foreshadowing that he's really this guy. And especially the fact that he just died. Melisandre shows back up at that moment. In the books, she never left. How she left and then came back. In the books,
Right.
she never left. She stayed there the entire time by Jon Snow's side.
Hmm.
So like in the books, it makes more sense too, because if she stayed there while Stannis is fighting this big battle, it's because she knows something, obviously. Especially
Oh
because
yeah.
she told Stannis like, I want to be at your side in the next battle, And in the
Hmm.
shows, it shows that he has no objection to that. So obviously, in the books, she could have went with him if she wanted to, but she chooses not to.
Uh huh.
I think a lot of that stuff. She's quoted as saying that her powers are stronger there at the wall than they've been anywhere else.
Right.
And so if she did have the ability to revive people, it would be now, kind of thing. Makes the most sense.
Yeah. She left. She left her sugar daddy for somebody much younger.
And stronger, and yeah. And if the thing about it is if he's a completely different thing, because if he has Targaryen and Stark blood, he has the fire and ice blood because he has the wolf and the dragon.
Hmm. Yep.
It would unite their houses.
Yeah.
I think the houses are probably the coolest thing. As far as the show goes, like the way that they like the lineage goes, because it shows like how far some people are willing to go to try to like uphold what they think is their lineage more than what's right and wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's played a huge part, like some of the biggest parts in the show. Obviously, like whole Ramsay trying to be a Bolton, and now he is one. I mean, Jon Snow obviously being a bastard like Ramsay. I mean, the whole thing with Tywin was trying to preserve the family name. That was his thing. Like his entire thing was keep the
So,
family for 1,000 years. You know.
what theories do you know about it? Have you just watched pretty much every theory out there? Do you watch theories all the time on Game of Thrones or?
I see. The thing is, I see a lot of theories on forums or on videos. I know a lot about the books just by reading it up, like on Wikipedia and stuff, like the general, like what's happening in the books, what's happened, etc. So I know a lot of theories.
Okay, so what do you know about Bloodraven? Do you know about Bloodraven?
No.
Okay, so Bloodraven is the guy that Bran is currently talking to right now, the guy inside of the
Oh,
tree.
okay.
Okay, now the reason that he's really important and the thing that I guess we could talk about is essentially he actually used to belong to the Targaryen house. He's a Targaryen. But
Oh.
he's actually like a bitter still or whatever they're called. I believe they're called bitter stills. I don't know if you know much about the Targaryen household, but hold on, let's bring it up. 'Cause I have it. But pretty much, okay. So his name is like it's like Brandon Rivers or something like that. Brendan Rivers, something along those lines. Um,
Okay.
anyone watching the video, don't get mad because I'm saying it wrong. I know. Uh, so Bloodraven, yeah, it's Brendan Rivers. There we go. So I looked it up. Brendan Rivers, pretty much like he's pretty much been like a hand to a lot of kings. He at one time, he was like, how would you say it? His half brother, Agar Rivers, desired Shira also. So like he had a mistress, a lot of different kinds of things. Like back in the days, they had a lot of problems through the girls. Pretty much, people fighting over girls. Pretty much that were their sisters a lot of times or cousins, things like that. Just causing
Yeah.
like a lot of cross blood and just so you have a lot of these different factions that spring up. So inside of the Targaryens household, you had stuff like the bitter stills. You had like the black fires. You had just all. There's another one too that I'm forgetting, but there's three different households that are spraying up through the Targaryens.
Hmm.
And hold on, Targaryen. And so pretty much, anyways, what ends up happening is that he serves a couple different kings, and there becomes a point later on down the line where they need to choose a new king, and there's a dispute between one of the Targaryens of the original bloodline and the Blackfire because they both have claims to the throne. And he basically tells the Blackfire like, "Come to King's Landing, let's talk about it, let's figure it out." Da 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 da. And when the Blackfire comes to talk to him to talk about, because he assures him like that everything is there to be peaceful and stuff like that, because he was
Hmm.
weary at first. And he comes, and when he comes, he still betrays him and kills him. And
Uh,
so the other guy becomes the basically the king through that. And even though he did that for him, he still doesn't trust him because he's like, if you could kill one, you can still kill me. So
yeah.
he puts him in the Red Keep below the kingdom, and he's there for X amount of years. And then the person that comes, Amon, I believe his name is. He's the one that became the one at the Night Watch. Um,
Oh yeah, Amon. Yeah.
yeah, the Meister.
Yeah.
I believe it's called. Yeah. He prior to that, prior to going to the Night Watch, he tells the king, "Why don't you let me take him with me?" And so basically, he lets him leave the Red Keep, and he goes with him to the wall. So they both go to the wall at the same time. And during that time, Brendan Rivers like starts to excel, and he becomes the first High Commander, or not the first High Commander, but he becomes the High Commander at that time. And so when he becomes the High Commander, Pretty much, he's just venturing past the wall, and he's always doing things, and then he's one of those people that just kind of disappears. He just pretty much went up and disappeared one day. Another thing that he's another reason why he's famous is because he was the last person to have Dark Sister, which is one of the famous Valyrian Targaryen blades.
Oh.
And so he was the last one to have it, and he disappears, and then now when we see him in the TV series, and in the same thing like in the books, he's like in the tree now, and he's basically with the children of the forest. He's aligned with them. He's pretty much some entity to them or something like that. I don't really know what that is, what's going on exactly, but so I think that's real interesting because it shows almost like a conversion. Like he has to be like almost like something else now, or something like that. And then another thing that's kind of like important that hasn't been too much talked about is the wargs. People being wargs, like
Hmm.
pretty much all the Starks are supposed to be wargs.
Right. I
The
do
way that
know that part.
the way that they explain it, and so that being said, like there's a lot of crazy like theories. Like people try to say that like Rob Stark could still be alive, which I don't think, and anything like that.
No.
Yeah, none of those stuff holds any weight. I think the only people that actually can become like that use the warg ability are people that have used it prior to something, because the reason it makes sense that Jon Snow can use it or has like some kind of attachment to it is because Jon Snow's dreams, he's shown when in his dreams sometimes being in Ghost and other things like that. He's had moments in Ghost. So it does exist in him, and then we already know that Bran can do it.
Yeah.
That's going to be one of his main abilities. And so another thing that I think it shows is that the humans still have the ability to use magic pretty much, because the main thing that the reason that the Targaryens are so important in a sense is because the Targaryens come from Valyria of old. Valyria of old is like this ancient race that had pretty much almost perfected everything. Like they were the people that originally tamed the dragons, and the Targaryens weren't even a strong household there. They were amongst the weaker ones.
Right.
And everybody there was like really strong dragon riders and sorcerers and dark magic, and so there's a lot of different shit to be passed on, and basically through like blood magic and stuff like that. Because
Hmm.
the way that it's explained is like the people that the fire, they use blood magic, and then I think the Nightwalkers use more of like sacrificial magic, which is similar to blood magic, but I think they do it in a different way. Like they like convert you, I think.
Uh.
Um, I don't know exactly how that works, but with the fire for sure, the Targaryens and everybody that represents them, they use blood magic. So something with his name is, they call him Blood Raven. You know what I mean? So it's like there has to
Hmm.
be something that he's gonna do blood magic wise with Brandon. And that's what I'm really more than interesting to see. I think a lot of the other stuff I've been able to figure out from reading and doing research and stuff like that. But I still have no idea what his purpose is or what he's going to do with him, because the way that he's talked about it, he said that he won't be able to walk again, but he'll be able to fly.
Yeah.
So that indicates a few different things and possibilities. It foreshadows like it could mean that he himself can fly, like he's going to be a sorcerer, because the guy himself he's like floating in the tree, or he's like up in the tree something. It's all
Yeah.
fucking. So I mean that could indicate that he's going to fly. It could indicate that he's going to be able to use like basically the ravens and the crows to fly for him. It could indicate I don't know, a couple different things. So what do you think about all that? Like what do you think about the magic and the other side things that are going on that are in play?
Hmm. I read a theory about that actually, that Bran is actually going to be a dragon rider. He's going to be able to control the dragons with the warg, at least one of them, um, with his warg powers. And I don't know how true that is, but that would be very interesting if that happens, because they could be very important for the White Walkers, because you need fire or obsidian to kill them, basically.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that could be a very important tool later on if he can warg into one of Daenerys's dragons, which could even in turn turn against Daenerys if needed. So you never even know, because that whole "you will learn to fly" could, like you said, could mean a lot of different
Yeah.
things. I just found that specific theory like very very intriguing.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. I in particular didn't even hear that one, so that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, what do you think about? Have you heard the one with Tyrion? Tyrion being the son of the Mad King and actually being a Targaryen.
Oh yes, I did hear about that one. I don't really believe it because I think Tywin like is adamant about saying like you're mine, much to my dismay, and you are the person who essentially killed, even by accident, your mother, who is, you know, I mean, like he killed
Yeah.
Joanna
So okay,
Lannister. Like,
so on the reverse of that, then, what do you think about Jamie and Cersei being the Mad King's kids?
uh, I still, I still don't think that's true. I think they're definitely Tywin's kids. I don't know.
Because amongst all the households, that they're the ones that are predominantly known for incest and the things like that, and the
Right,
way that
the
they act, their
Targaryens, yeah.
behavior. Yeah, that's a Targaryen thing,
Hmm.
and so that's the main reason it's hinted as. I don't really think so either. I think if I think the Tyrion one makes more sense than that one. Um, I think with Tyrion, I don't know. I don't think so. But at the same time, it's possible.
Anything's
Because
possible.
the whole thing about the Lannisters is he's shown that like upholding the lineage of his household is more important than anything, especially anything that he went through on a personal level.
Hmm.
So like if Ares the Mad King did, say impregnate his wife and then he did have a kid by her, he wouldn't want to, serve that embarrassment and be like, "Oh yeah, I killed this kid or I killed her," and I did all this. Basically it would be such a disgrace to his household and his reign to a degree, opposed to just like rolling with it and being like, "Yeah, he's my kid." And
Uh-huh.
then and at the same time trying to kill him on the side in different ways because I think if nothing would have happened in his favor, like when we seen him get saved by Varys, I think that he was gonna die. I think that they would have beheaded him.
Yeah, Tywin made that pretty clear that he was going to kill Tyrion. He pretty much was fed up with him. I mean, he didn't really like him from the start, which is that's like the tragedy of his story is like
See, if that was his
nobody
real son,
accepted
though,
him.
I don't feel like he would have killed him, no matter what it was, because
I
he
don't
could have
know.
still passed on his seed.
But he was hoping, he was hoping for Jamie to do that for him, but because Jamie was the golden boy of his kids. Um,
He's more of a tactician than like somebody to risk it, though.
yeah, I mean that's certainly true. He tries to talk his way out of it, like saying like you're my son, I wouldn't let them kill you. I mean, we just don't know how true that is because he didn't live
Yeah,
he didn't live past that moment to really see. I mean, it's certainly something to consider about Tyrion, but I think more likely than not, I mean, they pretty
yeah,
much told him his lineage. I think it's pretty much just something to take at face value for the most part. Though not much can be really taken at face value in Ice and Fire. I think that may be one of the few things. Yeah.
and what do you think about like I would say like I don't know if you see much of it, but there's like a conflicting thing between the old gods, basically of Westeros, basically everything to do with the children, and basically the old gods that they pray to, like nature and water and the faces that they've carved in the trees and stuff like that, opposed to the seven kingdoms that bring the faith of the seven gods.
Yeah, I tend to not really dive too much into that actually. I don't really have an opinion on it per se, because I mean it's there, but it never really piqued my interest ever. So
So you haven't gone too much into like the lore, like as far as that goes. Like, what do
as far
you?
as the religion goes, yeah,
Yeah. So do you have you done too much of reading on the children? Do you know anything about the children? Children of the Forest?
not too much, no.
Okay. Uh, well, one thing I will say is, with the Children of the Forest, they're real interesting because it really brings more that concept that like there is no good or evil
Right.
because from they're the people that are there from the beginning, and they make peace with a lot of the people that come. So basically, from the very beginning of Westeros, we have the Children of the Forest that were there before anything, and then you have the people that are called the First Men. And the first men
Yeah.
arrive and they settle through Westeros. The people settling the farthest up north, would fight with the children. They went to war with the children for X amount of years. It says it on there. I forget how much it is. And after going to war with them for a while, they make peace with the first men. And what's funny is the way that they talk about the children is basically every new race they encounter, they go to war with them first, and if they can't beat them, then they make peace. So that they're never peaceful with anybody that they meet at first. Like they used to go to war with the giants, with the wildlings, with everybody. They've gone to war, and it like in the show, they look a lot like, I would say, nicer than they're like the way they make them sound in the books. Like in the books, they sound a lot more like gremlins. Um,
Hmm.
and so like I think that's pretty interesting, and like the way that they have these daggers of dragon glass and stuff like that, they're almost like mini savages. And I feel like that they have their own evil indebted with blood magic and all this other stuff, and the fact that they're there before anybody, that's kind of something too. Um, Now, what's pretty interesting is the White Walkers. I feel like the White Walkers, more than anything, like could be a really big plot twist, because for all we know, like the original White Walker is gonna be somebody that used to be like a good guy that tried to stop like the children from doing something, and then he was punished, and like he's cursed, and like it's like a continued curse, like plaguing the world, that side of the world kind of thing. Like
Right.
there's a lot of possibilities of how the White Walkers got started. I feel like it's too like obvious for them just to be like an evil thing, because there is no evil things really in there.
Hmm.
And a lot of the White Walkers have already been shown to come from like prominent former like warriors or kings and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the King of the Night Walkers, or like the main one, or White Walkers, is gonna be somebody very strong, you know. And inside of the book, they're just called the Others. They're referred to as the Others. They're not even called the White Walkers. They're just the Others.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That I did not know.
Yeah, so that's another thing of why they don't seem like that big of a, like I would say, like an evil thing. You know, if you just called something the Others, you wouldn't really think that much of them.
Hmm.
White
Yeah, I
Walkers makes
mean,
them sound like zombies.
I mean, they were like shown in the very first scene of the show. So, I mean,
Yeah.
in the show specifically, they're going to play a massive part at the very end. Will they win? They might win in the end too, depending on how the show writers want the show to end. They might have them like slaughter everybody and rule over everything. Who knows?
Well, yeah, they could have to abandon Westeros for all we know. We don't really know the direction that it's going to go in, because there's other places to go. They could have to go back to Edos, and then even aside from that, like they're everything where Edos is at, like where they first show like what was it, Daenerys and like and what's fuck her brother there
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever, like
Viserys.
yeah, they're shown in Edos, and like they're shown to have like a palace there and different things like that, you know, so we could see them go there. And originally the way, you know, I don't know if that's a different place or if it's the same place or not, but the way that it was, I remember it being written in the books too, is that when Ares first sent them away, like because when everything's first going on, and basically the Lannisters and the Starks are invading the kingdom, he sends his son and daughter away to be safe with his wife. His wife hasn't given birth yet to Daenerys. Daenerys is gonna be born soon, and the son is like probably like, I don't know, like 8 or 9, and he sends them away on a ship, and then while they're on a ship on their way to, basically to, I think it's called like Dragonborn or wherever that's where they're from, like
Yeah.
Dragonstone or something like that. He sends them back to their homeland. There's a big storm that happens, and during that storm, Daenerys is born, and then the mom dies, and that's why they call her Stormbringer.
Yep.
Yeah, so like, anyways, they obviously have like a lot of their own stuff, like prior to like a lot of this. I don't think that they have like a huge kingdom, but I do feel like they should have some like hidden place that they live or something like that, because I mean, what happened to this Dragonstone or Dragonborn place? And then on top of that, there has to be remnants of old Valeria. Like they've shown like just kind of like parts of it and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah, with like the people with grayscale that had
yeah,
like full on grayscale. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of grayscale, Jorah, we never know when he's gonna die of grayscale in the show,
Or
or
he could get
become
cured.
someone. What you know?
He could get cured somehow though, because the princess
Yeah.
had it and she was cured, so it is possible.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure how they. I forget how they did it. I think they burned it or something. Um,
Well, he said that he had brought doctors and priests from all around the world. So
uh,
so who there? I'm not sure exactly how it went down, but there was a lot of people involved, and one of them probably had the answer. You know, so he's
yeah,
probably gonna have to travel to some distant part of the world, or it could be just some random like wizard or anything, like a blood raven. You know, who knows? Like it could be a lot of different things as far as how he gets cured. More than likely, not magic.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Grayscale itself looks like some form of a curse. So
It seemed
I'm
to
gonna
be like some sort
yeah.
of like biological curse almost. Is weird. It
It
was
seems more.
very
It has more of a
odd.
curse look than a disease look to me.
Yeah.
It's like a plague kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Is there anybody?
Yeah, I mean, there's two people watching.
Yeah,
Nobody's really
people
asking
watching.
questions though.
No.
Okay, so but either or, it's been going for like 40 some minutes. So before we wrap any of this up, though, let's just say season 6 predictions. What
Yep.
you expect to see and what do you want to see?
You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm gonna put Jon Snow aside for because we already kind of talked about predictions on Jon Snow. But as far as season 6 predictions, aside from Jon Snow, uh, Arya will obviously catch up to the book because we haven't caught up to the books yet in her story, and will likely surpass it. I'm not going to talk about that because that'll be spoilers to show watchers only. Uh, yeah, so Arya will do that. I personally think Cersei is going to just bulldoze over the Faith Militant if she can, which I believe she can. Um, let's see what else is what others. We're definitely going to see Bran Stark again, and probably see some training with him. Um, like I said, I'm putting the whole Jon Snow thing aside. The showrunners said that Stannis is dead, but I don't. I still am skeptical until I see confirmation that he's dead. Um, what's going to happen with Sansa and Theon? Who the hell knows at this point? They love screwing over Sansa, so I'm assuming nothing good is going to come out of it till the end. And I guess that's about it for me, I guess.
So, okay, I'll start with the Sansa thing since that's like the last thing.
Uh-huh.
One thing I do know is that in the books, Sansa was never with Ramsay.
Right.
He never captured her. He had a what was called fake Arya. It was pretty much a girl
Mm-hmm.
that he knew and he had already pretending to be Arya. So I don't expect to see Sansa get recaptured, especially with Theon. I expect to see them both get away, and I expect to see random threats keep going out because the big thing is the pink letter. The pink letter basically demands Theon be returned and all this. He wants his reek back and all. The pink letter is a big thing. It's kind of a spoiler heavy thing, so I won't get too much into it. But
Uh-huh.
basically, the pink letter basically talks about what Ramses demands. He demands things. He starts demanding things because certain actions happen a little bit after this. And Ramses' demands kind of give us an indication of where what direction Sansa's arc is going. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as next season, I do expect to see something with Sansa. I expect to just kind of see them on the run more than anything. I expect to see him
Uh-huh.
and her and Theon just trying to escape somewhere. I don't know where. Maybe even to the what would you call it? What are they called? Where he's from, the Iron Islands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because so a big character that hasn't basically been revealed yet, but is really important in the books, is his uncle. His uncle is supposed to take over the throne because his
Yeah.
father should have died, and so his uncle needs to make a big. And his uncle in the books is shown as like a really strong character and almost like a pirate, and he's real rambunctious and he's real crazy. So
Right.
I expect to see Theon and them go meet up with him because he would be the perfect person to match up against Ramsay because Ramsay's kind of off the wall. So I expect to see them kind of just go, these two off the wall characters clash at each other. That's kind of what I'm expecting with that. A lot of bloodshed. That's the best way to clear out the Boltons is going to be like a big little mini war.
Uh-huh.
They have to be fighting somebody else aside from like all the because other people are going to be involved with the more with like King's Landing and the main plot of what's going on. So I expect to see Iron Island or somebody else take out the Boltons or something and kind of earn respect amongst the Starks.
Hmm.
I think that's more likely a different direction to go, especially because like the dad was so spiteful. But the thing about it is the dad didn't like the uncle, so the uncle could have like the reverse mindset and want to work with the Starks to spite him.
Right.
So that, I think I can see something like that. Um, what I want to see is some kind of war. I want to see Ramsay die, but I don't know if that's going to happen. What's more likely to happen is that we're going to be focused on King's Landing and the Lannisters. I think that when Jaime comes back, he's going to be a bit of a savage. At least for a little bit. He might have like a revelation and stop and become like an overall more developed character. But I think he has to have at least like a lash out for a moment. I don't expect him to strike at the Martell. That's kind of interesting too to see how that kind of plays out.
Yeah.
Because I believe what I was told what I watched on this other video too is that um her name, like I can't remember her name, but it's like Marseille or Mercedes or something like that. The pretty much his daughter, the one
Marcella.
Marcella. There you go,
Hmm.
Marcella. That she's still alive in the books. That she's like poisoned, but she's still alive. Like she's
Right.
like crippled or something like that. So I don't know if that we know that she's actually gonna be dead when we come back into the next season. She might just be like completely like bedridden, and he's gonna be at her side, the Martell or something like that. I don't know exactly what's gonna happen right there, or she might be dead. But either or, I think when he comes back and he sees what they did to Cersei, instead of seeing a war, we might see him just kill the High Septon.
That would be kind of badass.
Yeah, I could see Jaime just like walking up to him and just killing him.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Yeah, if he didn't have the right protection and the situation was right, he's bold enough to do that because he's the Kingslayer.
Hell yeah.
So I think and I think Jamie's gonna get a bigger part in it than we expect. And on top of that, um, Tyrion is supposed to be the author's favorite character. So if he's not a Targaryen, then we're gonna need to see the Lannisters make a rise too. But it's gonna be like, I feel like a different kind of rise, like because like the everything that's gonna happen with Jaime, I feel like he's either gonna be disgraced or die or something that's gonna happen to him, and Tyrion will become like the Lord of the Lannisters kind of thing. Like he'll be the person in charge of them. Um, Cersei more likely than not's gonna die. I feel like a lot of those characters, are more likely not gonna die, or they'll kind of just be off in the distance somewhere.
Yeah.
Because the thing with Cersei too was like when she had her fortune told to her as a girl, she was told she was never gonna be happy and like about all the bad things that were gonna happen, kind of thing. So
Mhm.
I expect her to just have a tragic end kind of thing. I expect her to get more revenge, but somebody's gonna take her out. I could even see it being Sansa or something like that. Sansa.
Right.
Um, Arya could end up killing a lot of them.
Oh yeah,
'Cause,
Assassin's Creed Aria edition.
yeah,
It's coming.
I mean, why build her up if she's not gonna? She's gonna take out somebody important.
Yeah.
Because not only is she like learning to like say be a killer like with poison or things like that, they're like taking her down like where she's like a swordsman and like all this other shit. Like she has a lot more training.
Uh-huh.
Like way more than we honestly see any of the other characters really getting. Um, I think it is possible though, just if like the reverse that say Jon Snow doesn't come back. Say all the foreshadowing really is just there to be there, like whatever reason. Um, I could see it being like Arya and Bran having basically to be like the new generation kind of thing, and
Uh-huh.
like and bring the household back being the young ones. But the thing about that is like I feel like it's just two young Starks. You know what I mean? With with Jon Snow coming back and becoming a Targaryen, it makes so much like of a difference on the story, impactful wise.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. And well, it's kind of another thing too. Um, if you look at Jon Snow, he has black hair,
Hmm.
and if you notice, like each household kind of just like strongly has like their house's color. The Baratheons are the ones with black hair,
Right.
so that's kind of weird that they're just like in the mix in a way.
Yeah.
But another thing though is the Baratheons are like a distant relative to the Lannisters. Did you know that?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's another weird, kind of weird thing. I don't know. Like some of the houses are like sub houses in a way.
Right.
They just branch off and then they call themselves something different.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I would say I'm excited. I expect like what's going to be great about this going into next year, next season's coming out, I believe in April, um, is that opposed to most series, like say like when I was watching Breaking Bad and I went to the last season, I knew it couldn't get any better. Like it was good. The last season of Breaking Bad was good, but nothing was better than what happened with Gus Fring. If you've seen that, or
No,
if
I
like
haven't.
if you've seen like certain shows like I don't know Sons of Anarchy, like it was really good, but I didn't feel like the last season was the best season. Like just multiple series that I can name that are blockbusters, Sopranos, just all these different series. The last season isn't the best one. Um, I feel like Game of Thrones could possibly be that show. Like season 6 and season 7 could be like the best season so far
Hmm.
because
Yu Yu
it's
Hakusho.
yeah, Mid Yu Hakusho is probably the best. Season 4 was really strong. It's really hard to top like Sensui and Toguro were probably some of the best villains of like any shows.
Yeah, Dark
Yeah,
Tournament's my favorite arc in that.
yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah.
Um, let's see. Have you tried any of the Telltale games?
No.
One thing I'll recommend for anybody that watches this video that hasn't tried the games, be sure to try the games. They're a little bit different based on how you make your decisions. It kind of affects the story a little bit. So if you're craving Game of Thrones and you want to do something, download the games. They have them on Steam. They're pretty cheap. And
Oh,
yeah. So anything else? Just to let you guys know, if you've been watching any of my content and you wonder why I haven't been uploading videos constantly, I'm just working more on editing for now. I will still do live stream discussions. I'll probably do a One Piece one tomorrow. And I'll be doing my best to just constantly do weekly things more at the moment. I'll get back to doing daily activities once I actually get After Effects down a little bit more, but it's very time consuming. So for the moment, we're going to be doing weekly videos. I'll probably upload at least 2 or 3 more videos this week. And yeah, if you guys interested uh, as well and you watch this video, be sure to look in the description and you'll see a link to Team Mystic's channel. You can subscribe to him. He does way more content than I do. So if you need those daily videos or those constant chapter reviews and all that, be sure to go to his channel because he has that for you. And yeah, so thank you for joining. Thank you for checking it out. I know my discussions are pretty long usually, so if you actually stayed to the very end, kudos to you. And you guys have a good day. Goku Light, Team Mystic, and all that good stuff, and Game of Thrones.